Hello, my friends. Happy Lionsgate Portal. Thanks so much for joining me today on Fortune's Wheel Tarot. This is going to be a special reading in nature. As you see, this is my favorite place to be, is in nature. But in the forest, I am a mountain girl. I love the country, and I just felt drawn to be outside today to try to do this Lionsgate reading. Just felt the need to be out in nature today. So if you're a nature lover like me, maybe you'll just hang around to hear the cicadas in the background. I'm going to be doing a reading from the Cantigee Oracle. It's an ecological spiritual guide and creative prompt deck, and each card has quite a lengthy explanation, so I will be reading from the actual meaning, but if you're a nature lover, you may find this beneficial. I love this deck, and I don't use it often enough. Here's what the actual cards look like. Well, let's see what we pull for you today. What is the message, please, Spirit and Angel Guides, keepers of the Akashic Records, Ascended Masters, spiritual guides, angels? What's the message for us today as a collective for this Lionsgate Portal? Thank you so much. A swan and a crowd of crows. A swan and a crowd of crows. You find yourself flying through a dimming sky as the sun sinks low in the west. Your broad wings bear you on cooling currents as you search for a place near water to rest. You are a swan traveling alone over miles of fields. At last, water catches your eye. A puddle the size of a pond near the edge of a field formed during recent rains, destined to dry up in the summer months, but here for now. You alight by the water's edge, amid the cacophonous commentary of crows roosting in the poplars beside the puddle. What appeared to be a peaceful sanctuary for a lone, weary traveler is in fact a bustling party of mischievous creatures. You and the crows observe each other. Nothing is spoken between you and the crows, but an acceptance is reached as you curiously consider their flitting, interdependent society, and as they appreciate your quiet and unthreatening dignity. Your difference intrigues them and stimulates new ideas in their clever, corvid minds. You benefit from their watchful ways, and all rest well through the night. The keynotes: let your uniqueness shine forth. Engage in your singular role in the great scheme of all that is. Symbology: although they are both birds, crows and swans are extraordinarily different. Here a swan finds itself among a great gathering of crows, preparing to roost together for the night. Being a large white waterfowl, and the swan sticks out from both the surrounding green inland landscape and from the ink-black crows. Although the swan is surrounded by others, it is singular and thus somehow alone. Guidance: when you are drawn to this archetype, it is time to recognize what makes you distinct from others and from the circumstances in which you find yourself. Rather than perceiving yourself as therefore separate, Instead, recognize yourself as a unique facet of the greater oneness of all that is. It is only by being true to who you are that you are able to contribute the sparkle and shine you are meant to give to the one great jewel of being. Honor your true nature and trust there is some unique and vital intelligence that only you can add to the great stew of being to the benefit of all. This archetype indicates it's also important to honor the discomfort of feeling different. It's only through acknowledging the pain, loneliness, and fear of not fitting in that you can then assess whether your difference somehow brings an interesting and important benefit to you and your situation, or whether it calls for you to make a shift in place, role, or community. To craft an authentic and sustainable way to be yourself, sometimes you need to fly on a more appropriate environment or community. Or sometimes it's a matter of recognizing how your uniqueness both contributes to and is exalted by the communities, situations, and environments in which you find yourself. This archetype is also a reminder to honor the differences of those around you. If you are drawn to this archetype when you are struggling with someone else's differences, let this card inspire you to embrace this person just as they are. Consider what they alone can teach you and how that might be just the medicine you need right now. As an icon, use this image to find the right channels for your uniqueness when you feel alone and misunderstood. Let this image inspire you to honor the people in your life who do not fit into the usual categories. As a portal, let these inquiries open you to receiving the gifts of this archetype. What if your uniqueness has a true home in the human community? What if your uniqueness indicates a singular purpose that only you can fulfill? What if the uniqueness of each individual is sacred? To put into practice, to best understand this archetype, travel to both ends of the spectrum of quote-unquote fitting in. If you feel bold, purposely put yourself in an environment where you stick out, with the intention of observing how this affects you. Find a way to travel alone, as a respectful guest, through a space and community that are different from you. Focus on how you feel as an outsider and how this affects your mind, mood, and body. Try to give as little attention as possible to how you think others perceive you. If you're feeling more reserved or tender about this issue, there's no need to trigger yourself. Instead, while resting in a safe and comfortable place, simply recall a time when you felt like an outsider and hone in on the feelings in your body, mind, and your mood. Get to know the feelings intricately and compassionately and see what insights come by looking closely, calmly, and with care. To explore the other side of this spectrum, kindly and respectfully connect with someone who is an outsider, someone who has just moved to your area or joined your workplace, or someone who is culturally different from the mainstream in your area. Let this person know they are welcome and appreciated. Consider how you might make it clear to them that the metaphorical door is open and that they are welcome to enter if they so choose. Accept and respect their response, whether they enter or not. The creative prompt: create a work in your medium that has an outsider element in it. Everything in this work is cohesive and copacetic except for one element that stands out. In music, it could be a single note that is always played out of tune. In painting, it could be the one electric splotch of color in an otherwise subdued, earth-toned work. In dance, it could be the moment of tenderness in an otherwise angular and quick piece. After completing and observing your work and process, consider whether you feel more like the outsider element or more like the dominant bulk of the work, or perhaps you find they are two sides of you that would be stronger if they got to know each other and work together more consciously. Ecological connection for this card. Notice what's eccentric in nature. Focus your attention and curiosity on any living creature in your natural environment that stands out as unique. How might the uniqueness of this individual plant or animal help this being to thrive there? How do you feel its singularity contributes to the well-being of the local ecosystem? Support that which is unique in nature. Some plants and animals are so unique that they can only live in certain environments. When that environment is threatened or when an invasive species moves in, those specific local creatures may become threatened. For example, many owls are pushed out by barred owls moving into the area. Local grasses are commonly threatened by horticultural grasses going rampant. Consider if there are any species that fit this picture that you'd like to support in some way. So for all that, to me, this overall says that, we are to channel our uniqueness, to be a swan in a crowd of crows, and to craft a sustainable way, an authentic way for us to be ourselves. And sometimes that means finding a different community or a different environment. We can't always change communities, but sometimes we can change even, if we have a room that, we can sequester ourselves to, or if we have a bit of nature we can get away into, thankfully, some of us are able to do that. That's definitely a more appropriate environment for me. So, what that means for you, however that applies to you, whatever you feel is right for you, do that. What makes you happy, as long as you're, not hurting anyone else, it's not for anyone to judge. So I'm going to pull a couple of cards for you. One from the Wild Offering Oracle and one from the Divine Abundance Oracle for this Lionsgate portal. And I think that's a beautiful message for us, is to be ourselves. We should always be that way, of course, but it's, it can be very difficult in the world the way things are today. And so divine timing. The divine brings things in the timing that we need. Nothing comes before we're prepared, nor leaves too early. May I always trust your perfect and holy timing, dear Lord. And of course, that is what that means for you, whatever that divine is for you. The divine, the universe, so important to trust. The universe is always working everything out for us, my friend. I hope that you've enjoyed this reading. I hope that it brings you peace and some clarity for this Lionsgate portal. If it did, please like and subscribe. It helps the channel so much, and I'm doing my best to build my channel. Finally, for the Divine Abundance Oracle, grounded. Many of the most evolved beings on earth are regular folks living with joy, dignity, and courage. This has been a beautiful Lionsgate reading. We are all called to be ourselves. I'm wishing you love and light. Enjoy the rest of your summer. Blessed be.